In with Heidi.
We've all done it. Maybe you're trying something new and you end up falling flat on your face, figuratively speaking. But the trick is to think positive for next time rather than focusing on your failures. This morning in Better Grades, we're talking about the power of positive thinking and how it is a powerful tool in any child's education. Laura Lee Burgess from Oxford Learning joins us this morning to put a positive spin on negative situations. Good morning.
Good morning, Heidi.
This is a challenge, I think, for anyone, whether you're a parent, student, just, everyday average Joe. We all struggle with this. When we talk about positive thinking, what exactly do we mean? How do we define it?
Yeah, so we're talking about the mental attitude that really perceives situations in a constructive way. So looking at a situation, it's not about ignoring the negative. We all know that negative things still happen, so we want to acknowledge those, but really focus on the constructive aspect of that. So what can we do with that?
So how does that relate to education?
Well, it's really, if we can teach kids to think positive, it really helps them to become more resilient so that when they do fail a test, they can look at it and say, okay, what can I do differently next time? Maybe I didn't study enough, or maybe I, need to take a look at, review these concepts. So it's really about using it constructively, thinking positive for next time, and learning something from the negative.
Just so they're not like totally deflated and give up.
That's right.
You don't want that. So,
yeah.
Okay, so how can a parent foster positive thinking, especially when we probably struggle with it ourselves?
So that's the most important thing, right? Modeling as a parent is the most important thing. So it's not always about all the great things, right? Life is not always sunshine and rainbows, but we want to make sure
that... No unicorns?
No unicorns, always. But we want to make sure that, you're addressing those things. So model that behavior, talk about what can happen and what they can do with that situation. So, if they're worried about school, talk about that, talk about how they're feeling, and then talk about what they can do to make that more positive.
Right. So what's an example of how you can, I guess, frame the conversation? Like, what would you say as a parent if, like, your child, say, fails a test?
Yeah, so it's a good idea to talk about looking through the test, for example, look at the questions, focus on the things that they did get right, and then say, okay, so what can we learn from this? Next time, maybe we need to put a little more focus in this area. Or, if your child breaks their arm, of course that's a negative experience for them, but maybe talking about all the cool things they can do with their cast.
Right.
Like those are ways to kind of put a positive outlook on a negative situation.
Can this make a big difference when it comes to grades, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if kids start to think more positive, about the end result of a test, for example, instead of going into that test and saying, I'm going to fail, going into that test and say, I'm going to try my best, I'm going to do my best, it really frames them, that whole situation in a more positive light, and it allows them to open up a little more as opposed to automatically feel like they're not going to do well.
Yeah, sounds like this could be good for all of us. But if you put them in the positive framework early in life, then they can keep that going throughout.
That's right. It's an excellent coping skill, especially for kids. So if kids can learn that at an early age, like I said, acknowledge the negative, but really focus on what can come out of that, what is the positive. And it will absolutely make a difference.
Yeah, even beyond the classroom. So thank you so much for coming in. We're feeling positive. Let's put a positive spin on the weather.
That's what I was thinking
too. Trying to do that? Okay, let's go over to